I made an AI horror game in Snapchat. I started by booting up EasyLens, the tool you use to make Snapchat filters, and I was shocked by the tools I had. Snapchat gives a huge amount of information for the filter to use, so I could use the user's name, the user's friends' names and Bitmojis, and even the user's location if they had it turned on for Snapchat, which I would say most people probably do. With this in mind, I knew I had to use this information somehow, so I came up with the idea of a conversation with a person, or really a thing, where you find out slowly over time that this thing knows more about you than a random stranger should. Now, with the popularity of Verity and also other emoji copy pastes, I decided on the emoji avatar because not only did it fit the theme, it also was just way easier to make. So with this in mind, I had an AI emoji that talked to you, but I didn't want to make it like a personal assistant just like characters like Verity. Instead, I wanted to take inspiration from sites like Polybuzz and make it an AI friend. So I took all of this and came up with the idea of the character Nyx, your AI best friend, with the slogan, the only friend you'll ever need. You start the conversation with Nyx by pressing the button buy now, and then at first it's just a pretty regular conversation. He asks you about your day, and then you can ask him about his hobbies and such, and there's even a fun apple catching minigame in a section where you try on different fun filters with Nyx to just bond with him. However, the mask then slips a tiny bit, and then Nyx asks you why you have other friends when you have him. Then he makes you play a game of tag where you tap your real friends' Bitmojis, showing that Nyx knows who they are, which is kind of ominous. However, after this, Nyx becomes his smiley normal self again, but then a bit later on he does ask how the weather is in your location, which it actually does say your actual location if you have it turned on for Snapchat, which obviously is pretty creepy. But if you don't have your location on, it just says your location as like a stand-in text. And it's still kind of ominous, you know? Then Nyx gets like super creepy, saying that it is almost here, but not telling you what it actually is. He does say, however, that the weather in your location is quite nice, implying that it's actually a physical embodiment of Nyx near where you live. Then I play a door knocking sound effects, and Nyx asks you to open the door, and he even says what you heard wasn't the wind. However, before Nyx does anything crazy, he says he'll leave you alone if you beat him in the game. This starts an Undertale style boss fight where you have 3 hearts and you have to dodge Nyx's attacks. It's actually pretty difficult, but I added a retry button so it doesn't really matter if you fail. But once you win, Nyx says he'll leave you alone, but he does ask that you share him with a friend. I also added a fun leaderboard that uses the apple catching and the tag game scores and adds them together, so you can compete with your friend to try to beat them. If you want to try the filter, just search up Nyx Survival on the Snapchat filters page, and it was for the Contra EasyLens contest.